Hey, welcome to If These Woods Could Talk, produced by the Rhinelander District Library. I'm Matt, and I am here today in the home of longtime area resident Al Leese. Al, thanks for inviting me in. It's chilly out there today.
Yes, my gosh, it is. It was 1 degree this morning.
Cold enough.
Cold enough.
Hey, now, so we first spoke just a few days ago, last Friday, and you were looking for a newspaper clipping from 1958. Would you tell me about this story?
Well, what little I know, because Marv Sievertson was a Sioux Line brakeman, and a good guy, one of the better boys on the railroad. That when you were a switchman, you were outside. It was 30 below zero, whatever else, and a lot of times things got under your skin, and so. But he was a guy that it didn't matter. He could sit and talk with you, and had a big family, I guess, and for some reason, he found out about Krueger's gas station on Lincoln Street having some kind of a deal. If you could carry 500 silver dollars across all the way till you get to the bridge in town, that you could have them. Well, by gosh, he's the only guy that did it. Good guy. So,
What kind of weight are we talking about? 500 silver dollars.
well, if you've got a machine here, let's say we took 500 ounces, because they were 1 full ounce, and divide that by 16. So how much would you give you? About 30
31
pounds?
and a half.
Okay, 31 and a half pounds. Okay. Plus the sack, and so the picture that they had taken of him with the boys from the station there, why, you could see Marv hanging on to it. And I guess other people tried to do it, but their hand even got so numb that they dropped the bag and didn't even know that they were hanging on to it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it tells here 32 pounds. That would be about right. Yeah, with the sack and all.
It's a good bit of weight.
Oh yes, and especially if you ever saw a bag that they bring silver into the bank,
Mm-hmm.
and boy, they're knit right tight, and when they squeeze that handle together, they put a kind of a wire band on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they know when they clamp that in there that let's say that you went and you bought this from the bank, they can tell that it's either been opened because the way you have to stretch that metal back out again, so they know it isn't open. It's the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can see in that picture too that arm's a little low. I'm thinking he's gonna ice that later.
I'll bet you he will. Yes.
Might be a
yes,
little
yes.
bum. So Krueger's Standard Service sounds like. Do you remember that place? Do you remember whereabouts that was?
Yes. It's exactly. It was the last. It was the BP station right here on Lincoln Street.
On Kemp?
On Kemp.
Kemp Street. Yeah.
Okay, so if you get to Kemp, now it's a V something or something there.
But it was the BP there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a Standard oil station, and then I think it went to what did Standard go to? They had another name after that.
So how about our hero here, Marvin? So you worked with him you were also a switch?
And no, I worked for in the office. I was a telegraph operator. I went to right after high school. I went to telegraph school in Minneapolis,
Okay.
and I was not quite probably 18 years old when I had 3 months of telegraphy, and if you could copy 10 words a minute, that meant that the school, and at that time, there were probably 50 railroads in the United States that were out looking for people because it was brand new right after World War II, you know. And so the guy asked, what railroad would you like to work for? And I was born and raised in Lublin, Wisconsin. And Lublin is 26 miles from Medford. If you stayed on 64,
Sure.
okay.
All right.
So anyway, I says, I want to work for the SOO line because that's runs through my hometown. And one day I'll be the depot agent there. Well, by the time I got, out of school, I had to get broken in with the SOO line. By that time, they closed the depot up.
Oh, no.
So I didn't have a job there anymore.
There goes that dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
But I worked, from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin, the farthest west was the end of the subdivision for the SOO line. And once you started at Weyerhaeuser, you went all the way to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Okay.
Okay? And then from Argonne down to Neenah. It didn't include the Neenah station, but it continued down there till Center Valley was the last one on the Argonne line. So my first job, and they sent me to Gladstone, Michigan to break in. And what I had to do is send a message to the dispatcher there. That was the guy that was hiring. And he'd send you a message, and then you send a message back to him. And if you qualified, he'd say, okay, you can go to work tomorrow. Well, then you have to wait till they finally had a job for you somewhere.
Sure.
And my first job I ever had alone was at Brantwood. You know where that is?
I don't.
Well, if you went to Prentice, before you get to Prentice, 10 miles is a little town of Brantwood.
Okay.
Okay, and so they sent me there to, that was my first authentic job.
Okay. And there's a depot there?
There was a depot there, you know. I don't know how many years it's been gone by now, but they sent me, just like every young guy that hired out, they sent you from one town to another, as the people that were there were getting a vacation or were sick leave or something. A lot of times you only worked one day.
Okay.
But that's what I did for about, I'm guessing, 10 years or more.
Okay.
And then finally there was an opening. They closed up like 43 depots on one Friday. And one of them was my job at Boyd, Wisconsin. Okay. And so they asked, where do you want to go? Because all the oldest people were asked the same thing, and they picked the best of all the job. So it ended up there was one opening in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Okay.
And I said, that's the job I want. Well, it was called a traveling agent. I had like 5 different locations there that I had to go and see the customers. They gave me a car, a little expense account, probably $15 a month, and they thought they were doing me a big favor.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got done with that, and I stayed there from April, May, and June. And finally, the job at Rhinelander here was open for 3 months. Nobody wanted it because you started at 4 o'clock in the morning and 4 till noon. And who wanted a job like that?
Bad hours.
Bad hours. So, but I got the job, and I've been here since.
Been here ever since.
Now, I stayed here for 15 years at least, until they closed all the depots again. Okay. So at 50 years old, I didn't have a job anymore. So that's when I finally bought the little caboose, and I stayed there for 2 years before a guy by the name of Ed Boney worked for the paper mill. He wanted to go into the real estate business, so he called me. He says, why don't we start a business here? So we started it. It was called Strout, S-T-R-O-U-T, Strout Realty.
Okay.
So we run that for a couple of years till finally, he didn't pan out with the company because he didn't have a sale. He didn't have the modem to do anything, so they just got rid of him. So I stayed there by myself. Well, then finally we got a big shot that bought the whole company out of Scottsdale, Arizona, and he was a different kind of a businessman. That he took most of the money, and I got a very little commission. So I finally told him to go to grass. Getting back to Norm, I guess it was just the idea that, and I saved a lot of old newspaper articles, something that I thought maybe my kids one day or so would be interested in, you know. And one of these, because Marv was a Sioux Line guy, that's why I saved it. And I saved Eisenhower's for quite a few years too.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's pretty rare to see those anymore.
Well, here's the part. Whenever I went to the bank, M&I Bank or any place in town here, I'd always ask the girl there, I'd say, you got any Ikes? And a lot of times I'd get 15, 20 of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then they quit making them, I think in 1978
Okay.
was the last. So they got less and less. And then as they got less, and because I was asking the girls at the bank if there was one or two, they took them home, or somebody else got them. I don't really know. I think the girls took them home themselves.
Sure.
It was only worth $1.
Well,
They're only worth $1 today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's the same.
still $1.
So, when you came to Rhinelander, that was after Sault Ste. Marie,
Yes.
and you kept doing the same job that you were doing in Sault Ste.
That's
Marie,
right.
going around.
Well, didn't go around because this job here was right at the office,
Oh, okay.
which is the Sioux Line the depot in the Pioneer Park there.
Yeah,
Okay, that's where I worked.
that building, huh?
Yeah, that building, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And whereabout was it at that time?
On Thayer Street, where as soon as you cross the railroad track,
Yep.
right there was where the depot was, where the old
Where the
roundhouse
tracks are.
is now.
Okay.
And there's some talk, I guess, that they want to get rid of that roundhouse now too, and they really shouldn't. Even I don't think they pay any taxes on it or anything, but when the Sioux Line finally dismantled, and they were owned for 106 years by the Canadian Pacific Railroad, and when they finally got rid of the Sioux Line, they finally sold that portion to the Canadian National, and so that's who owned the Sioux Line from Duluth Superior all the way to Chicago, and from Minneapolis, St. Paul, Shoreham Yards, down to Chicago.
Okay.
And so what happened there is now they tell me that the little branch between Tomahawk and Argonne or Goodman area is owned by another little subsidiary,
Okay.
all by themselves now. They own that,
Yeah.
and they want to really, if it wasn't for some kind of a state planning or something, the railroad doesn't even want to run into Rhinelander anymore, because it used to be that we had a lot of loggers here, you know, that shipped pulpwood down to Wisconsin Rapids, Nakusa, Port Edwards. Anyway, they're all gone. Yeah, so most of it is if they do have a contract, they'll be hauling it by truck.
Okay.
They start out in Rhinelander, and within the day they're down there, dumped, and back again.
Sure.
And they got their money in their hand. Don't have to wait for a carload.
Yeah. So can you still?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's like when I went to grade school, at I don't know 5 years old, we had a little kindergarten in the Lublin area, and because there was 11 of us kids, and we talked Polish at home.
Okay.
And so when I got to kindergarten, I didn't know a word of English, because everything was Polish at home, And so when the school teacher she'd open the book and she'd show you a carrot, and she'd say carrot, but to us it was marchew. It wasn't a carrot, and kapusta was cabbage, and meat was mięso. So it was a different kind of a life too. 11 kids, and and getting back to can you do it? It's embedded in your mind so that once you learn it, I don't think you can lose it.
Yeah.
No, especially when that you had to know 10 words a minute at least before you ever got a job on the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's embedded in your mind.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Were your parents? Did your parents immigrate to here from Poland?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad came when I think he was 18 years old. I got his death certificate and all hidden somewhere here, but it would tell because he came from Europe and he went through Ellis Island. Then what happened is shortly after that, World War I broke out, and so they made him go back to Europe again under World War I.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So and how long he stayed, I really don't. I'd have to get the papers, to find that out. But Ma too was someone that came with her part of her family was already here, and that's the only way that they could get here is that they had to have a sponsor to say, okay, we got a place for them. They will have food and shelter.
Yep. I also did want to ask, kind of for my own curiosity, but did you ever do anything with Hayford Junction? Do you have any familiarity?
I know. I knew Jerry Schwartztrauber. He was the agent over there.
Okay.
For quite a few years, and in fact, when I bought my caboose here, I went to Minneapolis. What happened? A lot of people put their names in, and a lot of them were dead already. By the time they got selling, they had 25 cabooses for sale. Mm-hmm. They were $456 FOB Chicago steel. So that's what you bought them for. And so what they did is they had a couple of guys there that were selling them in Minneapolis. And they were contacting these people. And as they did, they just got them off the list because a lot of them were dead, So they finally got to me. Because, and I had, I think I was 256 on the list. And they only had 25 left.
Yeah.
So the guy called me and he says, "Al, your name is up." So I says, "Well," but I says, "I got the camper packed, got the 3 little kids and the wife, and we're going to Canada fishing for a week." So I says, "When I come back through Duluth, can I swing in to Minneapolis and look at the cabooses?" He said, "I want you to look at them because some of them got cornered, some of them they stole the stoves out of them to put into others, Mm-hmm. So he said a lot of them weren't complete. I want you to look." So anyway, we drove over there and I bought 4 of them. And one of them went to Hayford Junction.
Okay.
To Jerry Schwartztrauber.
Sure.
Yeah. And he took the wheels off of it and set it on the ground, which I don't know why he did that, but I didn't ask him either. Jerry was a good brother Mason and a Shiner of mine, which I am a Shriner. And a Mason, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, one of the other ones went to Phillips, another Mason brother of mine, and he was the depot agent at Phillips.
Okay.
And what happened is the depot at Phillips, they had a explosion in the feed mill, and it killed, I think, a couple of guys that they never ever did find. They burnt right in with the fire. And so one of the cabooses went to Bob Rotier, and Bob and Ethel owned a 40-acre piece on Job's Dam. And if you ever went there, and yeah, I think it's Highway W, little ways a mile out of town, and then you asked about Job's Dam, they'd tell you where it is.
Okay.
And the caboose is still there as far as I know. She's, I think, passed away. He's been dead for 20-some years. And the last one went to my brother-in-law in Osseo, Wisconsin. And he had 600 acres of land a mile out of town. He was a periodontist. And why he wanted the caboose, I don't know, but he wanted it, and he put it on his yard. And he had interviews of people from the Chicago Tribune, the Minneapolis paper, the St. Paul paper, and what they had for the top headline was where the trains, the caboose was there, where the buffalo used to roam, because he had 200 buffalo there. And so that was where the 4 went, and the 1 came here.
So what caused you to put it out there?
Well, because I was going to start a real estate business.
Okay.
Or I really didn't know what the hell I was going to do.
You did some moving around in your youth. What caused you to stick around here?
Well, you had to live somewhere.
That's
you
true.
know, but I had the job, and you see, my first little wife passed away when she was 29 years old.
I'm sorry.
And I had the 3 little kids,
Yeah.
3, 5, and 6. And so I had to hire housekeepers, somebody to watch the kids because I had to go to work. Well, after like 2 years, and I was living in Withy, out of Medford area. Anyway, from there, I moved to Boyd, which was, there was an opening for the depot there, so that's where I went. Well, while I was in Boyd, I was dating a lady that owned Cool's Club and Ballroom in Gilman, Wisconsin. And she was 15 years older than I was, but anyway, we got married.
Okay.
Yeah. And so after we got married, she owned a supper club and a dance hall.
Wow.
And so she was there 21 years already. Her husband passed away at 43 years old, so she was alone, you know. So she says, if we want to, let's sell the place and let's move to Rhinelander. So that's what we did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I got here. And after the state bought our place out, 2 years after they made the option, then we found this place. It was only 8 months old, and the only thing that was here was the house. No garage or no other buildings, and 10 acres of land for $26,000. Yeah.
So are you a dancer too?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
All right.
If you didn't have the Polish hop and know how to dance the waltz and you weren't Polish.
Okay.
Oh yeah, love to dance.
That's great. Was there
And drink a little. Nothing wrong with that.
No. You got any other stories you want to tell? Anything come to mind?
I'd rather not tell you any bad ones.
Yeah.
And I do have a lot of good ones, but maybe at another time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, consider it an open invitation. So.
Okay.
Thanks for taking the time today. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to another episode of If These Woods Could Talk, produced by the Rhinelander District Library. A special thanks to the Old Pine Road Band for the musical theme. To learn how you can record your own story of the Northwoods, or to suggest a topic or storyteller, contact the library or check out the website at rhinelanderlibrary.org.